everybody, and welcome to From This Corner TV. We're back. I'm Marilyn Dayton, your host and producer, and we got another great show for you. And I want to remind you, get out your paper and your pen, okay? You're going to want to write down some things, as I always tell you to. So I would also like to remind you that we're here not just to entertain you, but we're here to tell you interesting things and educate you. So keep that in mind. So I want to ask you a question. Have you ever heard of Natural Nutmeg magazine? Well, it's a wonderful magazine full of a lot of information. And our guest today is the owner and publisher of this magazine. And they're celebrating 10 years, which is amazing. She's not only a publisher, she's also has a PhD, and she works in physiology and nutrition. She's written a ton of articles and co-authored books, which we will talk about. So I'd like you to meet Dr. Diane Hayden. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. It's great to be here.
I'm so glad you could join us. So let's start talking about, when I mentioned that you're a specialist in physiology and nutrition, let's talk a little bit about that so people get to know you a little bit.
Okay, great. So, yeah, my doctorate's in exercise physiology and nutrition. And if we want to go back a little bit prior to that, my undergrad's actually in marketing, which many people think is an interesting combination because, how did you go from marketing to exercise physiology? I was always interested in health and fitness. I was a runner all my life, taught aerobics classes, lifted weights, just really into the health arena. And after I got my degree in marketing, had done a lot of different sales jobs and things like that. Didn't really love it, and ended up going back for my master's in exercise physiology, and then decided that I wanted to teach at the college level. So I went on for my doctorate at the University of Maryland, College Park. And after that, ended up getting a job as an assistant professor at Central Connecticut State University for 4 years, and thought I was going to be there for forever, but had another opportunity that I really just couldn't refuse. A nutritional supplement company was looking for a director of education and training and director of sales. And so I ended up leaving to help this company start a whole new division where we marketed nutritional supplements to physicians and licensed healthcare practitioners.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was exciting.
Yes, it must have been. So we're painting a certain picture here, okay? But you're an entrepreneur. So how and why did you go from working for someone else to doing your own thing?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Because I've been very happy in academia, and then when I went into more of a corporate role, working for these two different supplement companies, it was quite a shock. Yeah, actually, because academia is a little bit different. I mean, you are working for someone when you're working in a college, but there's a lot of autonomy, and yes, you have to show up at a specific time to teach your class and things like that, but the rest of it's really, get your work done when you want to get it done. And, I almost felt like I was my own boss without really knowing what it meant to be an entrepreneur back then. And then working for these two companies, great experience, but much different. And I just got to a place where I really just wanted something that was my own. And I wanted to call the shots, and I wanted to determine how much money I would make. And I guess I'm a little rebellious, I don't know.
Good for you.
Just tired of working for somebody else and, having them say, well, this is the salary you're going to make, and, these are the hours you're going to work, and these are the things that have to get done. And even if I had other ideas or I might want to do something differently, sometimes that was great, sometimes, frowned upon. So I finally just got to that place where I was like, you know what, I think I want to do my own thing. I want to start something that's my own, and I can make it what I want it to be and hopefully be successful.
Now, were you able to transition into doing your own thing and still stay working for someone else, or did you just go, that's it?
Yeah. That's not what I would recommend, but that's what I did.
Oh, boy.
Pretty much just took the leap, yeah. But I knew that I could always go back to teaching if I needed to. And so I did leave the corporate job. I did leave the full-time job to start Natural Nutmeg. But I did have some adjunct teaching positions along the way. So I had some other sources of income. It wasn't that I was strictly relying on this completely. And it wasn't just me. I had a partner too. So he and I started the magazine together. So he had other income as well. Because essentially when we started, my goal was with the first publication, with the first issue, to at least have it pay for itself. Not necessarily pay me or him or anyone else, but at least have it pay printing and distribution and, you know, those kinds of expenses, which it did. So that was great. But we obviously needed other sources of income to survive for, you know, for a little while.
When you become an entrepreneur, that's kind of the way it works.
Yeah.
I always encourage people, if you're going to start your own business, keep your day job and take the largest closet in the house and convert it into your office.
Right.
And start from there, because you usually don't make an income for the first year or two or sometimes 3. It takes a while. So you're very blessed that the first magazine actually paid for itself.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I had a goal. I mean, I knew exactly where I needed to be in terms of printing and, you know, my other expenses, and I knew how many advertisers I had to get. It's solely supported by advertising, still is. So I essentially knew, okay, this is what I need to do, and I just set that goal. And, you know, I guess in the back of my mind, I thought, well, if we have to push it back a month, we could. I had made that clear with the initial group of what I called charter advertisers, that might be the case. You know, we're going to shoot for an October issue and we'll see what happens. And everyone was fantastic. I mean, one thing about the holistic industry, I have to say, everyone is just amazing people. And, you know, they thought this was a great idea. They were supportive. There's probably still 50-60% of our advertisers have been with us, if not since day one, at least 5 or 6 years, if not longer.
That says a lot.
Yeah,
it does.
Great.
Now, this is basically Connecticut, correct?
So this magazine, Natural Nutmeg, serves the entire state of Connecticut.
Okay.
Yep.
And there are a lot of natural holistic practitioners in the state. Because I know quite a few of them are my clients, so I know these things. So you do have people that you can get articles from, people who are advertising, and gosh, 10 years, that's pretty amazing.
Well, that's what I think sets us apart, is the fact that the platform, the way that I created this, was to give holistic practitioners a way to speak to the reader. So all of our content is written by holistic practitioners, holistic business owners in Connecticut. It's 100% local. Everything that you find in there, whether it's an ad, the article, the events, press releases, all local content. And that's been my mission, is to, when a reader picks this up, they know that when they read an article, they can actually call up that practitioner or that business and go see them.
Yeah.
Versus reading something that's from Colorado or California. Not that that's not good information, but it's not the same as, you know, especially if you have a health issue, being able to go to find that person and go to that person, I think is critical.
To have someone that accessible.
Right.
And you get to know the practitioners through the articles and what they're sharing with you, and if it makes sense, you go, okay, I'm going to call this person and go see them. I think that's great. It's a wonderful marketing vehicle. There's your marketing that you pull out.
I'm sure I am using that, so it was kind of cool, really, to be able to combine both degrees into one thing. Like, I never imagined that would happen. It wasn't like my goal, this is the path I'm going to take. It just kind of happened that way. So that's been great. And yeah, I think just having this platform for a practitioner to be able to position themselves as an expert and write about their passion and educate the reader, and it's, you don't find that.
No, you don't.
You know,
no,
so
no. let's take a couple of these and,
Oh, sure.
and hold them up and show people what it looks like. Okay, and it's thick. It's pretty thick, people. It's got a lot of information in it. A lot of advertisers that are all, natural, holistic products and services. And I think it serves a need. It definitely serves a need. And you're right about the holistic practitioners, that's the word, community.
Yeah.
They communicate with one another, they support one another, they refer one another, because sometimes I'll have someone on my show, and after the show they say, there's someone in Bristol, there's someone in Higginham, there's someone in Hartford that you should really consider for the show. And I love that.
Yeah.
That respect, that mutual respect. It's important.
Well, yeah, that's another great thing that I think happened just by chance, is that all of these people who are in here, these advertisers, all now, not only are they reaching the reader, but they're also reaching each other and seeing, oh, well, like a naturopath now can refer to a massage therapist. And vice versa, and or to a health food store owner. Oh, go get your supplements at this health food store. So it's really built a great network and community for them too, in addition to a place to to advertise and market their business.
And there's nothing better than a referral network.
That's true.
Amongst your peers and your community. Now you write a lot. You've written a lot.
I have.
Now I noticed, I went to your website, that's your name, and I noticed that you do, you have also done one-on-one counseling and coaching, and you've got, and I noticed there were a couple of things there that really looked kind of interesting, which was, and I loved it, and hopefully you don't mind talking about it.
Of course.
Psychology of success mindset. Today, we talk about mindset and how important it is. And if you go on Facebook a lot, you see these postings that people share about mindset because it's so important. Everything starts here, okay, and here. And you've got to make sure that you're in the right state of mind to accept and learn things that are better for you, whether it's personal or professional. And so I saw the psychology of success mindset for athletes, for pretty much anyone.
Right.
And I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah. That's probably my favorite thing to talk about, actually. Oh, we could spend a couple hours here if you want.
Okay.
But yeah, so I don't know if I can exactly pinpoint when I started getting into this. I think it was from the time that I left one of those corporate nutritional supplement jobs and starting the magazine. I also went into a life coaching certification program. So I did that alongside starting the magazine, which most people will or have told me I was crazy. But actually, I think it was a lot of work, but it was really very helpful beyond anything that I could have imagined, because I was able to really focus on what I needed to do to get this done and not worry about what might happen. What if nobody reads it? What if nobody advertises? What all these things that could potentially go wrong, right? So being in this life coaching program, I had a peer you have peer-to-peer coaches when you're going through the certification, and that person really helped me with getting out of my head and getting into the right mindset of, okay, yes, you could worry about all that stuff, but what is that going to get you at the end of the day? Nothing, really. I mean, you need to stay focused on what you're doing, and it's just one day at a time. Take the next step at a time. Keep moving forward, and just keep doing what you need to do. And so throughout that program, not only was that peer-to-peer coaching great, but we also had to read a ton of books. And I think that's where I really picked up a lot of my knowledge and training on positive mindset and positive psychology and how to teach it, and little tips and tricks on, how to first recognize when you're having negative thoughts and getting into, negativity, and then what to do to get out of it.
Right.
Because it's not easy. I mean, sometimes you don't even realize that you're thinking negatively, believe it or not. And
You don't realize you're blocking yourself.
exactly, right. So it's having that awareness. That's the first step, and then saying, okay, where is this going to get me, and what can I do to get out of this? So there's so much work on psychology for success, whether it's for athletes or anybody really, but now they're really getting into the mindset, like what makes Michael Jordan so amazing. People don't know that he was cut from his high school basketball team, and people don't know that nobody thought he was really going to make anything of himself, and people don't know that he misses a gazillion foul shots before he makes them. I mean, you don't see what goes on in the day-to-day basis with somebody. You just see someone who's this amazing athlete, and you think, oh, well, he just has talent, or he's just special, or he
was born that way.
Yeah, he was born that way. He has something I don't have. But does he really? Because maybe he developed it from his mindset and the amount of practice that he did, and maybe that's available for any of us to do, really.
Absolutely. And there was another, the SPARK method. Tell us about that. I love that term.
Yeah. So that's just an acronym that I came up with when I teach mindset, and it stands for having self-confidence. So from a mindset perspective, believing in yourself and believing that you can accomplish something, that you can do something. Because a lot of people would have said, oh, I could never start this magazine. Like, I could never do that. I don't even know the first place to start or whatever. Well, I didn't either. But I knew, I guess I had the confidence that I think I can do this. I have the right connections. I have the right background. I don't have a publishing background, but I'll figure it out. So it's having self-confidence. P stands for passion. You have to be passionate about something. I mean, you could, I see a lot of people, I think, that start businesses because they think they're going to make a lot of money. And while, maybe from an entrepreneurial perspective, you may make more than if you're in a salaried position, because it can be unlimited, really.
Yeah.
But that's not, you'll never get there if that's why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Because there's, like you said, first of all, 3 years probably making no money. And then it may not grow to what your aspirations are. You just don't know. There's so many different factors. It has to be something that you're passionate about. That's what's going to make you get out of bed every day. Because that's maybe even more important than the monetary thing. No one is making you get out of bed when you have your own business, right?
Right.
You've got to have that discipline and that determination and that passion to be able to do that. And then A stands for ambition. And I guess that might be similar to passion, but I think ambition is more about what do you want to accomplish? Like, what kind of legacy do you want to have? What changes do you want to make for the better of people in the world and that kind of thing? So that to me is ambition. R is resilience, meaning you've got to be able to fail.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a tough one for me because I didn't really like to fail. I thought failure meant I couldn't do it or I was doing it wrong. Whereas this whole new psychology of mindset teaches you that failure is just letting you know that you're on the right track to doing something, but you need to do it. You need to do it a different way, or you need to do it better. So that's resilience, and then K stands for knowledge, or to me, self-knowledge, like knowing yourself, knowing what you want, knowing your path, and being able to stick to that, and follow through until you're successful.
And as you're writing this down, okay, right? Think about this. You can apply this to your own life. Right. Because we all have challenges. You may wake up one morning and have a challenge you never saw coming. And you go, wait a minute, hold on, what's that all about? And, it's going to screw me up, I'm going to fail, whatever your reaction is. Think of this, SPARK, what they stand for, write them down, and that's the way you should live your life.
Yeah.
no matter what you do, if you're an entrepreneur or not. Food for thought. Okay. So you're still helping people when they need it, right? They still can come to you for coaching.
I do a little bit of it. When we expanded to Maine, we haven't really talked about that, but
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
When we expanded our second magazine to Portland, Maine, and then I started considering a licensing model, I really cut back on one-on-one coaching because it's a lot of work. I solely publish and run Natural Nutmeg. I mean, I have staff, obviously. I have a graphic designer, and I have sales reps and distribution and all that. But as far as coordinating editorial and coordinating all the moving parts, that's still my responsibility. I have a marketing director up in Maine, but I manage a lot of that too. And now we're getting ready to expand. So
Right. And we'll be talking about that in the second half.
Definitely.
And I understand, having a little bit of a publishing background myself down in Atlanta, I know about all of the components and all the pieces and parts. That's a big job.
Yeah.
And it's more than full-time, it's that big, okay? Because there are certain standards you need to set for the articles. They have to be of a certain standard.
Right.
And if they're not, you either have someone edit them or you have to do it yourself and bring them up to your standards. We haven't talked about your vision and your mission. Whenever you start a business, you need to have a vision of what you want it to be, where you want it to go, and your mission of what you want it to do as far as serving a community and people. So what are your vision and your mission?
So I think my vision is to build a community where both the reader, someone who's looking for information on natural health or nutrition or fitness or green living, has a resource for that, can find it, and the practitioner has a place to educate that person. And for me, the vision was about helping people become more responsible, take more responsibility for their health, and not just rely on, traditional medicine or drugs or their doctor. I want people to understand that it should come from within first, that they have all the tools they need to be healthy. I mean, of course, if we're talking about some type of disease, you need medical help, obviously.
Right,
but before you get to that, I'm really big on just taking somebody who doesn't have any health issues, but maybe isn't really eating as healthy as they should, or they don't exercise, or I don't know, they have other negative habits or things like that, and making them realize that they have the power to change all that and to be healthier so that they don't have to go down this pathway of drugs and medicine and that whole kind of thing. So it was about creating something where people could learn how they can be more responsible for their health, and then spreading that out as far as I can. So, obviously beyond Connecticut. Maine was really just to see if I could duplicate this. Would it work in another market, so to speak? And now the answer is yes. So, and now we're taking that and expanding it nationally.
Right. And we're going to talk more details about that in the second half. But you're also providing resources. What you're doing is you're educating people about no matter what your situation is health-wise, and you've got doctors and they're giving you advice, you still have to be in control. You still have to make decisions. A doctor may say, okay, these symptoms kind of dictate that this may be the problem, let's do these tests, let's throw this steroid at you, and you need to know enough, and everything's online. Internet, big library out there, okay? And maybe you had already looked at this potential. This steroid's not for me because these side effects will make things worse, and I read that, at the Mayo Clinic or whatever. And you need to be in control. You need to know what to tell the doctor, the language to use, because if you're having dizzy spells, there's a difference between vertigo, there's a difference between, all of them are different, and they're all dizzy, okay? And you need to be able to describe to your doctor. And hey, guess what? Maybe, like my doctor, she always says, well, okay, before we start a medicine or do these tests, maybe we should take a look at what you're eating. Maybe we should take a look at your supplements and see if we can add something. Maybe we should see if you need vitamin K, if you need, maybe your magnesium level is low, and you will say to yourself, yeah, I read that, okay? So it's your responsibility. And this magazine, okay, can educate you even more, which is so important. It may have an article about something you didn't even think about. You went, wait a minute, my son has got a problem. This makes sense. I want to learn more. Pick up the phone, call that person.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
So the education then takes it one step further to providing the resource.
Right.
Which I think is very important.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned the internet, and there is a wealth of information on the internet, but it's not always correct information.
That's true.
And
That's
a lot
true,
of
yeah.
times, you're searching for something, and you get all this, all these different websites or articles. How do you know it's not someone just trying to sell you something that says, oh, make some claim, oh yeah, this is going to treat X or whatnot?
That's true. That's very true.
Or even just misinformation about, if you're trying to diagnose something.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've tried to do with this magazine is we have an advisory board of physicians, both MDs, naturopaths, chiropractors, acupuncture, and we really vet every article that comes in.
Excellent.
So not only am I critiquing it, editing it, making sure that the information is right, if I have a question about anything, if I read something that I think, I'm not sure if that's accurate, I can send it to my advisory board and they'll review it, and give me advice whether or not we should change something or something was wrong, or it's fine. Maybe I just wasn't up on that particular, issue or health reference or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it's tough when you were just blindly going on the internet and trying to find information, because there's a lot of, unfortunately, garbage out there.
That's true.
Especially in this industry, especially in the
yeah.
supplement industry.
Mm-hmm. I know. We see ads all the time on Facebook.
Right.
But the best places to go if you're going to do something like that are like the Mayo Clinic or HealthNet.
Yep.
Is a good one. Don't go to Wikipedia, please.
Right.
Okay. That's not the place to go. And look at the magazine, okay? Now this magazine is available. Is it available by subscription and at locations? How is it?
No, it's actually all free distribution. So it's distributed throughout the entire state of Connecticut. You can go on our website and there's a little map, and basically you can look at the map and find out where all the distribution points are throughout the entire state. But pretty much the major ones are any Whole Foods, Stop and Shops, Geisler's, independent health food stores, fitness centers, YMCAs, libraries, practitioners' offices. You're not going to find us at like a Chinese restaurant,
yeah, probably not.
or McDonald's, but a lot of places that have free, where you go in and you see free publications that you can pick up. And also, there's a digital magazine online. So if you are web savvy, you can go to naturalnutmeg.com and you can actually download not only the current issue, but underneath that it says back issues. You can get any of our issues all the way back to, I think 2010 is up there. So I think we have about 7 years of content.
Oh, that's
still
excellent. That's wonderful. And it's free?
It is free.
Holy cow, that makes it even better, people. Okay? So you have no excuse, all right? So,
right.
Absolutely. So before we go to break, well, actually, that might be a good spot to take a little break. And when we come back, we'll talk about her books, and we'll talk about the expansion that she's going through and what her hopes are for the future, okay? So hang there with us, and we'll be right back.
You always made sure I brushed my teeth.
You told me that smart was cool.
You always told me to dream big. To all of those parents who took the time to make raising their children their most important job, we'd like to say,
Thank you.
Thank you.
From the bottom of my heart, thanks, Mom and Dad.
this message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
If you keep tanning, indoors or out, the effects of harmful rays will show up on your skin. Wrinkles, age spots, and an increased risk of melanoma, the second most common cancer in women 15 to 29. Stop tanning. Time may not be on your side. Learn how to protect your skin at spotskincancer.org. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
You'd do anything to take care of that spot on your lawn. So why not take care of that spot on your skin? If you're a man over 50, you're in the group most likely to develop skin cancer, including melanoma, the cancer that kills one person every hour. Check your skin for suspicious or changing spots. Go to spotskincancer.org to find out what to look for. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Oh, hey, bud. Where are you headed?
Just gonna hang out.
With Gary and Todd?
Yeah?
I've been meaning to ask you, is there any drinking going on in this crowd?
No?
If any of your buddies ever pressure you to take a drink, just tell them you promised your dad you wouldn't. I'd do anything to keep you safe.
Okay, I will.
I hope this is working.
I promise. Love you too, Dad.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Hi and welcome back. On From This Corner TV today, we've got Dr. Diane with us, and we've been talking about the importance of being very careful where you search for medical information, nutritional information, even physical exercise information on the internet. So I just wanted to repeat that again, just to make sure you heard that part. Okay, and we're talking about her magazine, Natural Nutmeg, but I want to go back a second to the fact where I said she's quite a writer, and she brought a couple of her books, and I wanted to, you can find these, can't you, somewhere?
Yeah, so this is our latest one, actually, Essential Remedies, Essential Healing for Your Spirit and Soul, and that's on Amazon.
Okay.
So you can just go in the search and type that right in, it'll come right up. And that's a collaboration with 20 different spiritual healers from all areas of spirituality.
Wow.
And they're each talking about their journey, how they came to whatever spiritual modality it is that they practice. So people, massage therapists, yoga, Reiki practitioners, intuitive healers. It runs the gamut in there.
Wow,
yeah,
love
it's a great book for not only people that are looking for maybe just a different way, a different method of healing, but also people that potentially are being called to the healing profession. So a lot of the authors talk about how they were called. You know, did some tragic life event happen, or were they just not passionate about what they were doing in another career? Some of them knew at a young age. In fact, one of the authors knew he wanted to be a Reiki and massage therapist at, I think, 13 or 14 years old. And he couldn't find someone to train him because he was so young. But
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And then the foreword is written by Dr. Bernie Siegel, and you've heard his name here before.
Yeah.
We've talked about him before.
He's great.
And then you've got this one that you brought, Essential Remedies for Women's Health. Okay, ladies, take note, write it down, okay? And tell us a little bit about this one.
So again, another book collaboration. I do have a chapter in that particular book, but there's 12 natural health practitioners, all different aspects of health, everything from, obviously related to women, so everything from digestive health to skincare to infertility to things like aging, healthy aging, obviously, cardiovascular issues, adrenal fatigue, thyroid, pretty much tried to cover
Yes,
as
I
many
see
different
that.
topics as we could. That you can buy from our website. And yeah, it's a great resource for anyone who's looking to delve in a little bit deeper. Each chapter, I think, is about 5,000 words, so the author could really take that particular issue, like thyroid disease or adrenal fatigue, and really dive deep into what are the symptoms that you should be noticing, how do you treat that, or how would they treat that, supplements that you can take, and some self-care things that you can do too, not necessarily having to go see a practitioner for.
And this, of course, complements what her magazine is trying to do, which is why it's so important. This was actually compiled by Dr. Diane Hayden. The other one was compiled by our Dr. Diane, another Diane.
That's
right?
actually me.
That's you?
Old name.
Never mind. Never mind.
Same person.
This is still her. Okay.
Yep. Same person.
Oh, okay. Live and learn. A couple of great books. So go to her website, okay, and get these. Actually, I'm going to do that because especially that one I need to read. Okay, so you built this magazine over 10 years.
Right.
Okay. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've run into?
Oh gosh, mindset. Right?
Yeah.
Practice what you preach. I mean, honestly, I would have to say that probably was one of the biggest ones, and that's probably why I teach it, right? Because anything that you have a challenge with, I think you become a good or a better teacher at.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it really was just keeping focused on what's my end goal, where do I want this to go, and honestly, when I first started it, I never imagined that I would expand or I would have another one. So that wasn't even a consideration for me. It was more or less just, let's get this one off the ground and let's make it successful. So I think it's just having that right mind frame of, like for example, no one is paying me a paycheck every week. I'm the one responsible for bringing the revenue in. I mean, obviously I have sales reps now, but I'm responsible for them too. But in the beginning, I'm the one responsible for the sales and the revenue. So I have to, make sure that I'm doing what I need to do every day. And like I said before, you have to be disciplined to get out of bed. No one is telling you that you have to do that when you're an entrepreneur. So let's say an advertiser doesn't renew their contract, then I have to go out and find another one to replace that. And it's just not getting, not taking things personally, not getting frustrated. Again, having, just keeping that right mindset about what your end goal is.
And so you said the word successful. Let's talk about what in your mind over these 10 years is your biggest success? Other than the expansion, although that's probably...
Yeah, I guess being in a position to expand is how I would put that. I think, honestly, just publishing for 10 years is probably...
Oh, I would say so.
...my biggest success, because so many people have said to me, even in the beginning, and we started in 2007, which I'll admit, I think... and it was a good thing, I was naive about what was happening with the economy because everyone was like, what, are you crazy? It's, it's the worst time in history to start a business. And not only are you starting a business, you're starting a print business. Print is dead, it's going out. No one is, picking up magazines or reading books. Well, that obviously is not true.
That's right, I agree with you.
Yes. In 10 years, I've published 3 books and kept this going. And not only that, it flies off the shelf. I mean, the distribution has done nothing but increase over those 10 years. So people are still, and I think it's partially because it's a niche. It's so focused on natural health care and green living and that kind of thing, mindset and spirituality, that it's not just your average newspaper, let's just say, or your average national magazine. Because it's such a focused niche, I think that it has a lot to do with how successful it's been. But yeah, I mean, having any business for 10 years
Yes.
And then having a print business, I think that's definitely the
Absolutely.
most
And
successful.
we still do like to hold it in our hands and maybe dog ear a corner of an article that we really like, or rip it out and put it on the refrigerator, you know?
Yep.
So what made you decide that, you know what, maybe I can do this in another state? What was the turning point that made you think you could do that?
Yeah, so let's see, we launched the main publication in 2014. So it's about a year before that we started all the planning. I started thinking about what was the next step. So I'd been doing this for about 5 years.
Right.
And if you haven't already figured out, I like to do a lot of different things. And so, like I thought I was, teaching 4 years, nope, done, go do something else. I'm definitely more of a big picture person. Like what gets me excited is coming up with ideas, like the creation of things, like these book collaborations, and we've done events and conferences, and so I was always doing something else in addition to just publishing a magazine each month. Because I don't want to say that I got bored with it, because the content's always new, and I'm always dealing with new people. But I'm just always thinking, like, what else could we do, like, to provide value, and what are how could we build more community? And so I was kind of in that place of what's next, right? And I think somebody said to me, have you ever tried, have you ever thought about bringing it to another location? And I think over the years that thought had come and gone, but I just never, I don't know, I just thought, gosh, I can't even imagine doing another one. This one is a lot of work. Like starting a whole nother magazine with all the other facets to it. So I started putting some feelers out we hadn't set on Maine, in the New England area, for someone who potentially could be, what the role was, marketing director. But essentially they would be responsible for everything I do, getting the sales, getting the editorial, doing the editing, and then our graphic designer would put it together and our printer would print, and we'd hire a distribution company. But so I found someone in Portland, Maine. And I thought, well, that's good. We picked New England because we knew we would probably have to go there, and I didn't want to be getting on a plane every 5 minutes if something was wrong, or who knows, to go up there to work with that person. So, and Portland, Maine, great location. I mean, it's
absolutely
totally into local stuff. Huge food scene, green, eco-friendly, all that kind of stuff. So that was the first location where we hired someone, and actually she was with us for a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And then I just hired another woman, actually, who is phenomenal. I mean, she has even taken it to another level up there.
Oh, wow.
And I think bringing her on board, which has been a year and a half, that made me then see, wow, I think we can take this nationally to who knows how many markets.
So what type of, are you doing licensing, or how are you offering this?
Right, so yes, which is very different from a franchise. A licensing is basically where someone can purchase the rights to use the name. And it will be a different name in every city, but we will still own the name, or trademark the name, essentially.
Okay.
So they can buy that, they can buy the template of how the magazine looks, everything from the fonts to the style of layout to that kind of thing. But then they're responsible for getting their own advertisers, getting their own content, basically, what it takes to put everything in it, to fill it, essentially, events and that kind of thing. But we will train, there's a training program that they have access to. So whereas a franchise requires that you do certain things, like if you think of a McDonald's, you have to use, the building has to look a certain way, and everything has to be set up a certain way in the building, and then you have to buy all of their like all of their equipment and the food and that kind of thing.
And you pay fees for marketing and advertising and
Exactly.
all of that.
Right. This is much more ease of entry, I guess. And I didn't feel like I need to control everything. I want there to be standards, but I want people to bring their own style and, you know, passion and interest into it as well. Because obviously someone who's going to do this is someone who's very passionate about natural medicine and,
Absolutely,
and green
yeah.
living and that kind of thing. And then I'm hoping they have a skill set that's more entrepreneurial and sales background with this passion to be able to build it like what we have done.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's a big job you're talking about, okay? Talking about you have a full-time schedule now. This is going to be...
I will probably...
yeah.
I will have to have either hire a publisher for this, or I may end up licensing it as well. I'm not sure yet. Yeah, because my role will become building this community of publishers all over the country, definitely.
Yeah, you're not going to have time to be doing what you're
Right.
doing right now.
Right.
That's for sure.
But hey, that opens up a position for someone else.
It does,
you know,
which is a wonderful thing. It's such a great concept. And the fact that everyone across the nation, you know, none of us want to get sick. And there's so many diseases out there that are kind of scary.
Yeah.
And to have a publication that helps you take better care of yourself, that helps you learn what you need to do to have the right mindset and to be healthy. I think the market's huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also, I think for me, part of the vision, I guess, is I wanted to offer this opportunity to other people because it was so fantastic for me to, you know, to be in a place where I wanted to get out of corporate. I wanted to do something else. You know, I was confident that I could do it. And I basically built this from scratch. And I did consult with some other people in publishing that published a natural health magazine. So I had that, you know, I had that support initially going into it. I wanted to take that opportunity and offer it to other people who are in, or you know, the same position that I was in. They're ready to do something. Like, what's the next step? They're ready to do something that they're passionate about, but maybe they just don't have all of the skills or all of the tools to be able to do this from scratch. So now, here's a template. Like, here's a training program. You don't have to create the whole thing from nothing, like I did essentially. And I want to just build that community of people, giving them that opportunity, and then, you know, not only for them, but also the readers in all of these different areas, having a resource like this, I think will be fantastic.
I think it will be too. So I want to remind you, if you have someone you know, perhaps Iowa, California, that is in the corporate world, or that has a position or a job, or even is an entrepreneur and they're going like, I really need change, and might fit the profile of someone who has the passion, someone who is willing to, you know, just really jump right in and take what you have put together and provided. I mean, all of the tools are there, and make it work. I think it's, you know, write them about it, and then send them the link to this show, okay?
Right?
Right, absolutely. So we still have some time left. So the holistic practitioners that are out there, that are watching this show, that are going, you know, number one, I need to write an article. Number two, I need to advertise. But they're also business owners.
Right.
What kind of advice would you like to give them about becoming successful in this particular genre?
Yeah, that's what's tough, I think, because you're a holistic practitioner, so you went to school to learn how to basically help people who have a health issue or whatever it might be. You didn't go to school to learn marketing.
Right.
And that's like the disconnect, because they really get no training on how to run a business, but essentially the majority of them are starting a business. They're entrepreneurs in addition to being healthcare professionals.
That's right.
So it's tough. I think you know, you're just starting out. You're probably not in a position to hire, you know, a social media team or a marketing team or any of that kind of stuff. You really have to do a lot of it on your own. And so what what we've learned is by having them write content, write articles, and 99% of the time, most practitioners are fantastic writers, probably because they've had to do so much through their training in school. I mean, there's some editing required, but more often than not, most of them can just pick that up right away.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be long. A 700-800 word article, a one-page article is plenty to get your message across and position you as an expert and let the community know what you do and about different modalities and things like that. But I really think writing articles is the key. That has been by far what's brought most of my advertisers the best response. When I get testimonials and things like that, and I talk to people who've been advertising with us for a long time, almost all of them say it's because I wrote articles. And you don't have to do it every month, but 2, 3, 4 times a year I think is a great start. And then we do a lot of other things for our advertisers and our writers. We give them free social media presence. They can send us any kind of events or things that they want to promote, and my social media team gets that up on our social media sites. We do email blasts for them, so same kind of thing. They can send us content, they can send us events that they're doing, ads, any kind of thing. Every week our emails go out to all of our readers and also our practitioners as well, so they can network with each other. So we do a lot of that for them, but it's really hard to be running a business as a healthcare practitioner, having to see patients 9 to 5, and then having to do all this other office work and marketing, and many of them get really overwhelmed.
Oh, of course.
So, yeah, we've tried to make it easy by doing a lot of it on our own. They have to write the articles. I mean, we do have ghostwriters, but I really prefer that they write the content, because then the reader really feels the energy from them.
Exactly,
And,
yeah.
And versus someone doing an interview, or, I mean, that works too, but I like it better when the content comes from them.
Yeah. I agree with you, and I'm a marketing specialist, so.
Yeah, that's a full-time job in and of itself.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, for those of you that may not realize it, we're all thinking about search engines and who reads what first and how you move up and all of that kind of stuff. I always advise people, articles move your name, your business up faster in search engine than anything else, okay? So if you've got a website with a blog on it, you will find that if you search yourself, one of your blogs will come up first before your actual website.
Right.
So what she's saying about the articles is really very important. So, and if you think, I can't write, I can talk, but I can't write, well, talk to yourself and write down what you say, or talk to someone, record it, and then transcribe it, or talk to someone and have them write it for you. However you can do it, okay? It's very important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And once you have an article, I also teach them how to repurpose that content. So absolutely, it has to go on the website. Like you said, the more you have up there and the more regularly you put stuff up on your website, like if you search Natural Nutmeg, we come up, it's probably more like if you search Holistic Magazine, Connecticut or whatever, we're like the top 3 or something like that. Because we have so much content and it changes daily or weekly. So that's a great tip, putting that article up on your website right away. But then you could take that article and you could cut it into, say, 10 tips that you're going to post on social media for the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Or push out on your, if you do emails through your email newsletter. So I try to give them little tips on how to just save time, maximize, their effort and time. We write one article, look at all these places or things that you could do with it.
Oh, absolutely. I do the same thing with people. I advise them also, if you say, well, I'm going to write an article and then it gets published in Natural Nutmeg, and you say, well, I'm now going to add it to my blog. What you need to do is, at the bottom, you need to source it, okay, as published in Natural Nutmeg, okay, so that you can connect it, and it's also what you should be doing, anyway. That's kind of one of the rules, actually. So I think it's wonderful. I'm very excited about what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I see a huge future for it.
Thank you.
And
very
I'll
much.
go on record with that, okay? And I think it's, congratulations. What an accomplishment just to be in business for 10 years.
Yeah.
What an accomplishment to have a second state. What an accomplishment to have what you have in place to help someone in another state do what you have done. I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
And what a pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh, my pleasure too.
Thank you so much. What I like to do is I like to thank you too for watching us and supporting us the way you do. And also, actually our sponsors too. I like to recognize them at this point in the show because we all need to work together, okay, to get that information out there. To educate you and tell you things that are interesting. And as you well know, I like to end the show with a quote. So this one, I thought, okay, I've got to find something that connects the Western medical community that they respect and natural, holistic medicine. And I found one by Hippocrates. And it is, the natural healing force in each one of us is the greatest force in getting well. I'm going to repeat that, okay? The natural healing force in each one of us is the greatest force in getting well. And we all want to be well. We all do. Whether or not you have health insurance, I'm not going to get into that. But we want to stay well, we want to be well, we want to have a good life. And that's what I wish for you too. And if you've got other ideas for us for on our show, remember to send us an email, okay? Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure, as always. And we'll see you next time on From This Corner TV.